We are growing 100% year over year, which is not something that we've ever expected to be happening. Around 50% of the roles that we were probably hiring this year will probably be AI. Like, we need AI native people. Like, instead of actually taking me 30 hours to do this type of report, I can tap on a button and now making it within 30 minutes or within 10 minutes.
So, Gilad, you and your co-founder started Moburst in your kitchen in Israel. You bought your own computers, you bootstrapped the whole thing, and like fast forward today, you have about 100 employees, and you're working with Google, Uber, Samsung, companies like that. I think what I found most interesting about your story is you went all in on AI, and I think you guys expected you would actually be reducing headcount when you added all this AI, but you're actually hiring even more because of AI. What did you guys find out that most people are missing about AI and hiring humans?
Sure. So I think that this is a very interesting experience because, like, exactly as you mentioned, like our first goal when we kind of took AI in and saying like we are all in on that, let's try to reduce basically redundancy and try to get 50% more efficiency per employee. And then hopefully we continue on growing. So we need those people. But then if we don't, again, we can downsize on some of those things. And we found that it comes exactly to the other direction, because what we saw is that once you're tasting it and you start developing it, you understand that it's much more complex than what you thought in the beginning. Some processes can be automated, but at the same time, once you start building your own products and your own automations, it just makes you want to do more. And when you want to do more, you need more talented people. And then you start solving problems that you didn't even imagine that you'll be able to do. And then you find yourself saying, hey, you know what? I actually built here a product. It's not just automation. It's not just like an AI agent that does this and this and that. I can now add so much more value to my main offerings. So instead of actually coming in and saying, hey, you know what, we can continue growing by another 20%, 30% without hiring more people, we found ourselves in two very contradicting type of places where on one end, we are growing 100% year over year, which is not something that we've ever expected to be happening at this stage of the company's life. At the same time, we are finding ourselves saying, hey, you know what, we want to invest even in more futuristic type of things. Like, we are launching new products. We launched 40 new products from the beginning of this quarter, even though that we are an agency, so to speak. Like, when we started, we were a service provider, and now we have our own tools that are kind of giving our clients an edge and kind of the unfair advantage compared to their competitors. All of that started because we invested in AI and we thought that we can just automate a lot of those processes. And then when you think about automations, when you're thinking about how to create those aha moments and saying, hey, instead of actually taking me 30 hours to do this type of report, I can tap on a button and now making it done within 30 minutes or within 10 minutes. And you start doing that and saying, hey, why won't I also connect this process with that process and with this thing? And now I can do so much more things than what I used to do. So it's not just about automating your current workflows. It's also about ingenuity and like how I can actually bring much more value than what I used to do. I know that this process works. I know that the results are fantastic. That's what we are doing in the last 13 years. But basically, I can enhance it in a meaningful way on something that used to take us another 70 hours. If like a massive client will ask for it, yes, we can do all of those things as well, but it's not part of the norm. And now it is the new norm, and the standards are just becoming higher and better.
And what kind of roles, because it sounds like you were surprised as to the type of roles that came out after you created all these AI workflows, etc. What are you finding you're hiring more of now?
So I think that what we are finding is that we need more staff to be able to do AI automations and AI products. And I feel like one of the things that we keep on kind of hitting a wall on is like saying, okay, we started with a VP AI and saying, okay, fantastic. Let's start to map it, training, understanding what each and every business needs and things of that nature. And then it came to a place where we are hiring 4 people that are going to be underneath that VP AI in order to be able to start shifting different processes and things of that nature. At the same time, we appointed 16 AI champions within the company. So every single team has an AI champion, and that person is basically in charge of implementing workflows, getting feedback from the team, back to the AI, and basically kind of seeing how we can actually create and recreate kind of a lot of the different processes and kind of the workflows that how we are creating different assets and things of that nature. And what we are seeing now is that basically we need more of those both AI leaders to actually be able to do so much more, the heavy lifting of building something amazing. It's not just coding on Claude code or cursor or things of that nature, or it's not just N8N automations or things related to lots of different like Base 44 or Lovable. You have lots of platforms out there, but once you want to actually take it to production and you want to standardize a specific deliverable, we found ourselves like finding where we have like 14 new products that we launched, and for each of them you need a user and password to log in. And now for a Moburst employee, for example, I'm saying, okay, you have a user and password for this system, and a user password for that system, and a user password for this system. Now, I want them to just have one portal with all of the different tools, because each and every team was working in silo, and then managing the process and actually enabling the client to get dashboard. So client dashboard is a different level of what are the tools that you allow the client to actually see, and what are the type of things that you want to actually have in internal tools. A lot of those things, when you are starting to productize those workflows and how to actually work on that and kind of being efficient with a learning curve. So let's say we created now a system that, let's say, puts out a fantastic LinkedIn post for you. Let's say that just for the sake of the argument on that. Now, you want to create this type of a feedback loop about how to continue on creating better content. Now, what does that mean, better content? Let's see what type of content actually produce better results. So you need to create that feedback loop of seeing how much engagement you are getting per that type of a post. And then if we're optimizing it, are we optimizing it for this specific account, for this specific executive that we are writing on their behalf? Or is it for all of the executives? Because it's not just depending on this specific profile, but you want that new process or new enhanced protocol to be for all of the profiles that are using it. So you need like a local feedback loop for a client or for a team, and you need like a global one. And so there are lots of different layers when you're starting to think about how to get it to production, where the production means that every single time that you're delivering a new deliverable, it's state of the art. So every single time that the feedback loops are coming in, you need to basically have much more like AI thoughts and AI understanding of how do we refine it and how do we kind of create better products. And for that, like, okay, great, you created an automation now, something works and it looks better. But if it actually develops into a product, you need a product manager to manage it. Like, okay, it wasn't there before. Now you have this type of a product. You want to continue on getting it to a better quality, and you want to continue on optimizing it. And now you find yourself in a place where, okay, I have here someone that actually developed it, but now they're developing other things, and someone actually needs to manage this tool. Someone actually needs to manage this output. And then basically you find yourself with like more roles than what you anticipated in the beginning, because, hey, you know what? This is something that it's a tool that we can monetize. It's a tool that we can actually use in a higher scale. That's fantastic. But you also want to continue on progressing with it. So someone needs to manage the tool itself. Someone needs to manage the output. Someone needs to still get the feedback from clients and optimizing it. So it's like, it's not just creating the automation. It's also about like managing this type of a tool that you build and managing multiple tools on multiple flows on so many different business things that we want to automate.
And that's fascinating. What does the team, let's use that LinkedIn example, right? I imagine on LinkedIn you have technical people who do the AI plus automation, data management, all that kind of stuff. And then you have let's call it the subject matter experts, right? Who are like looking at the LinkedIn post output and going, no, that hook is bad. No, that image is terrible, right? Are those two different groups of people? Like, how do you guys structure the balance between feedback on the output and actually building the tech tool itself?
Yeah, that's fantastic questions. What we started when we are trying to kind of automate those processes, we try to think about what will be the ideal workflow. Now, we're all posting on LinkedIn, we are all kind of aware of the platform, but when you're coming to a developer and basically saying, what will be the ideal process of creating new content? And as part of that, we said, okay, the first thing that we probably want to do is maintain the voice of that person. So that person probably posted before. So let's go back, scrape the last 2 years of all of their content and understand the persona of the way that they're communicating. Are they bold? Are they wit? Are they like, what is the way? Are they using very long sentences? Are they using lots of very short like paragraphs? Like what is the way that they usually write? So that is one thing that we're saying, okay, so the first step, number one, learn everything about this account, who they are, what is their voice, what are they usually talking about, what are their interests, what are the things that they're usually more vocal on. And once you understand that, you understand the context of that specific person. Now, the next phase is, okay, what do you want to write about? So give me like new ideas of posts, new concepts of posts, and things of that nature. So you can draft that very easily on ChatGPT or Gemini and things of that nature, and that basically create new pieces of content. But then, what are the best practices for writing content on LinkedIn? So if you're doing deep research, just for example, using Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, never mind which is the tool, then you're getting like, 60 pages of best practices, do's and don'ts on LinkedIn and all of the things related to that. And then you need to prioritize it because we have LinkedIn experts, like we have the people on the social media team that are basically saying instead of actually injecting 60 pages long of a prompt, that's going to be the regular prompt to give it a quality score, let's basically use the team as well to say, is this still the best practice? Is this still how we usually do that? So you have on one end the context about the client, who they are, what they're writing on. And the second part is like doing this type of a deep research to understand what are the things that are the most important to get a post more viral on LinkedIn, for example. So you create this type of another instructions type of a manual about how to actually write the content. And then things to avoid, for example, like, okay, should we actually post with a video or image or links or like all of those type of things, and how to actually structure the content. And then, okay, fantastic. Let's assume that we are taking both of those things, and then the content, okay, what do you want to write about? Giving them ideas that we feel like would be a great content ideas for that. Just for example, one of the things that we've done there was, okay, if you're an executive and you have all of those call summaries, like we have call summaries about everything that happened in the company, we're recording everything. And because of that, I have a massive amount of emails of the calls, meeting summaries, action items from each and every meeting that I have on my email. So scan through my email from the last week, give me ideas based on what are the things that I personally experienced on LinkedIn in the past week or so, and take that as like new content ideations for things that actually happened for me in the last week, whether it was with employees or with clients. So use that to actually create new concepts. Awesome. It gets that and ingests that from my Gmail, and now it gives me, okay, these are 15 ideas that we think that could be interesting for you to write content on. And I'm saying, okay, fantastic. Draft the content number 12, 16, or 11, and 7. From there, we created this type of an interface, like think about it like a Tinder type of an interface, where basically I can swipe through like right and left if I like the way that the image will actually come to enhance that type of content. So it gives me like 3 concepts, visual ideas about how I can actually draft the image that will come together with it, or video that will come together with it. And then you can swipe it left and right. If you liked it, fantastic, we can schedule it. If you don't like it, we'll create you a new one. So that's kind of how we thought about the process of automating this type of a process to get us to a fantastic post. So you still have the human interaction. The human actually chooses what they want as part of this automation. The content is being like automatically drafted. Again, you can obviously edit it and change it and monitor it and obviously seeing how it goes. And also the concepts are coming to you in like push of saying, okay, these are the designs and things of that nature, so you can actually provide it the feedback and things of that nature. Then you're scheduling it and automatically kind of posting it online. So when you're thinking about how to break it down to different processes, what are the failure elements? If you can just come into ChatGPT or Gemini, write me a post for LinkedIn. Okay, great. You might get a post for LinkedIn, but it's not necessarily on the best practices. It's not necessarily on your voice. The image might not be that good fit for that. Like it all looks too generic and it all look very boring and dull, because that's what most people are doing. Okay, I don't have time. I do need to have enough content. So let's just post something. But then if it's tailor-made to what you actually experienced in the last week, you have much more insights about it. And in the system actually have much more depth about like, hey, this is what Gilad thinks about. In this scenario, we should actually go right and not left. And so there is some kind of tension. There was some type of interest there. So once you kind of go with an AI expert, for example, and explain them the thought process and how to actually create those type of workflow, you're trying to break it into different steps. And then each and every one of those steps needs to be automated, and each and every one of those steps, you need to kind of taste it. So you're putting it in your mouth, basically reading through the post or reading through the image or video, whatever that was created. And then I'm tasting it saying, well, you know what? It's too salty. It's too sour. It's not quite there yet. It's just like a chef that basically tastes the I don't know how it was cooked. Okay. Like the AI cooked that for me. But as a chef, I do need to see, you know what? This one looks fantastic. This is something that I'm proud to be behind. This is not quite there yet. And then we need to recreate. And then shifting all of the different processes to get us to the level of deliverable that I'm happy 95% of the times, so I can actually use it in a much more, flawless way. And that's where you need like a product manager, and it's like the product manager or the AI expert that works on those tools is not the social media expert that actually kind of give them the best practices and actually uses the tool to create a massive amount of volume of content later on.
Interesting. So, I mean, before what you're talking about, say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was a ghostwriting agency, right? Where you would ghostwrite for people, you would have teams of writers doing all this stuff. Today, you're using product managers instead to build your product, and like use that to make content for folks. What do the people look like in that today? Like, do you still need copywriters and ghostwriters and all that kind of stuff? Like, what does the org chart kind of look like as you pivoted to this new model?
Yeah, again, I still have a content team. I just feel like the content team is much more like every single content manager that I have, instead of actually be writing the content from scratch, they're being acting like an editor of chief of, let's say, if you're thinking about a massive desk of news. So they need to read each and every one of those things. They need to kind of see and catch all of the potential mistakes or all of the things that are not necessarily are best in class type of a thing. They need to go through the content, and you need to see that it fits to the SEO best practices and the content best practices and the specific platform best practices and everything related with what the client loves, what the client hates, and all of the things that are actually going through. So they're kind of the editor in chief that basically, instead of just writing content every day, and you'll be able to write 2 or 3 or 4 masterpieces of 3,000 words. Instead of it, they need to read words in that day and read through that and skim through that and seeing what will make sense, what will not make sense, what will help us on different things, and basically provide the feedback loop to the product, to the tool itself. And sometimes, they're just changing many things that they know that it will fall through the compliance on this specific client, or because they know and they are kind of in charge of that specific output. So it's not like all of our output is AI generated. Not at all. We have a lot of clients that are not even allowing us to use AI for some of the different processes because of their specific procurement needs and their specific IP needs and things of that nature. But I feel like the more that we shift and the more that we kind of grow, we do see that we are talking here about like not just volume play. Like if I need to create you a new blog post, I can do that with a matter of run prompt, and here we go. You have a blog post. But if you want a fantastic content pillar with that is actually linked to all of the other things that we've created for you, and it will create the right cluster of things for ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and Claude to see you as a thought leader on this specific space. There are lots of things that you need to basically go through with the frequently asked questions and schema, lots of things about how to actually create the right type of content today. So it's not about like how many pieces of content are we writing per day. If you're writing too much, you can also cannibalize yourself, and basically Google will see your site and saying, well, what should I feature for this specific content? I have here 60 articles and they're all saying very similar things. Which one should be actually featured? So you need to know how to actually write in a way where you're not hurting yourself and demoting the way of how you're being seen by all of those bots at the end of the day, whether it's Google bots or whether it's like the LLM bots. You really need to know how to create it on the right track. And I feel like that still is very human on the way that we are managing it, where a human in the loop is kind of dictating, are we going in the right direction? Are we not going in the right direction? And obviously ingesting a lot of data into it to see, hey, this is where we were last month, this is where we are today. And obviously we are going in the right direction. We're on the right path.
Got it. So it sounds like it's more like the roles have almost pushed up, where it's like you have less kind of, I'm going to call it doers, and more strategists. And because you're doing so much more, like you're having so much more growth, success, etc., you're still hiring strategists and managers like crazy. They're just managing AIs now rather than being the writers on the ground just writing.
Yeah, a designer becomes a creative director because they have so many different things, and now they actually kind of elevating themselves into this type of editor-in-chief or creative director, for example. The media manager, again, instead of actually managing 1 account or 3 accounts, they can actually manage 5 or 6 accounts or 10 accounts. So they just need to see what the output they are getting and if this is aligned to our best practices and what the client needs. The same thing goes for every single occupation in the company. When you think about PR, for example, when you think about podcast booking or things of that nature, every single one of those people that used to write the content themselves or create the pitch by themselves, now they can actually have 50 pitches to choose from, and basically they need to get the best ones. and basically fire them on the right places in order to actually get the best outcomes. It's a much bigger scale of operation, because think about like each and every employee now manages another 3 or 4 or 5, let's say, chatbots or AI helpers, so to speak, to help them to do the things much faster. But they still need to make sure that the quality is fantastic, and they still need to make sure that this is something that fully aligned to the client needs. So it's not like on autopilot, but it just gives them the ability to see and do so much more things on a day-to-day basis.
This is fascinating because, like, I feel like a lot of agencies will talk about doing these things. You guys are actually building out this AI ecosystem. And so what roles are you finding you're hiring the most of? Is it more the creatives? Is it like who are doing the feedback loops? Is it the builders? Like, where are you allocating all your resources?
Yeah, so I feel like we are now hiring much more on like product experts and AI engineers. I feel like these are the things that we kind of need the most, because like one AI engineer can transform like a full agency that we acquired a year and a half ago. And basically, they have their 30 folks that are doing very similar type of workflows. And if you're thinking like about what do we need to do there, how can we actually boost the efficiency of that team? How can we actually boost revenue per employee on that team? And you need to kind of build that almost from the ground up with the different processes. We used to have a role, for example, in the company where you had like we called it like account executives. Now, account executive was basically coming on each and every call with the client, managing all of the Asana tasks of every single one of the things. If we have creative projects and media projects and PR projects and website building and lots of different deliverables. So they will be sitting with the client every single day on the different meetings that we have with different team members, and then assign different tasks. Okay, based on the account feedback, this needs to be revised to that. We need to do this in this specific way. And the client didn't like that. The client really loved this specific concept. Let's do that also on other niches and things like nature. Now, this entire account coordinator role was listening in, write all of the remarks, and basically assign that to all of the different teams. Like the same account can have 50 people working for them on different departments. So being that person that's going to be assigning all of the different tasks for the different teams, and basically being in charge of the traffic from the team that is working on delivering it to the client and things like that nature. Now with AI call listeners, you can just have the full breakdown of every single action item that you had on that meeting, and automatically assigning it on Asana based on different project board, based on how much time does it take us to create this task or that task, and basically just eliminating that role altogether. Now, at the same time, instead of that role, I do need another AI expert to actually build us another product that I want us to start producing. And I know that we have the skills to do that, but till now, just for example, as an agency, we never had our own profiles. We never had our own influencer profiles, for example, or our own assets of websites. We didn't own the media, so to speak. But now I can have our own products where I'm creating these type of things, and instead of just buying them from third party, I can just produce them myself. So I can have much more of those kind of value proposition when I'm thinking about my clients and saying, if I would had something like that, how the reality would look like. So I'm kind of eliminating very entry level roles that are pretty redundant, and there is no reason to do that. I'm still hiring a lot of experts on many different niches. A new VP Creative just started this week. We're hiring now lots of other positions, like the head of social was just hired, the head of content was just hired for additional roles, additional things that we need. And at the same time, other positions that become redundant because we don't need them anymore. We can kind of automate them into processes that are actually much more efficient for the way that we are growing. On one end, we are hiring still 15 to 20 positions, and at the same time, we are growing by 100% year over year, which means I would expect to need to hire from 100 employees to 200 employees, but that's not the reality. Like I can actually deal with 75% more spend comparing to where we were 9 months ago, with 15 more positions, for example, which is kind of ridiculous. So the only way to come to this efficiency is building systems and integrations where you are not just relying on humans in the mix, on creating every single one of those deliverables. You rely on humans when you need this strategy, when you need the creative input, when you need the understanding of the client, understanding of very complex situation with the client, with a lot of political situations that they are facing, A lot of things that our competitors are now going this way or that way. Now they have a really strategic dilemma about what they should actually be doing, and transitioning business from one stage to another. So it's a very different type of like where you need that trusted advisor rather than the one that's going to be writing the script or the content or create you another nice design on Photoshop.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like most of the roles you're hiring for, so you've got human as a trusted advisor is one bucket. And then you have, it sounds like, are most of the folks you're hiring AI engineers?
Not most of them, but a lot of them. Let's say around 50% of the roles that we were probably hiring this year will probably be AI. Like we need AI native people. Like even if they are like my new head of content, for example, we didn't just tested them on how advanced they are on the writing skills. Obviously that was part of the test, but we also hired someone that built content machines before. So he knew how to actually assemble all of the different tools and how to create workflows of creating content in a much bigger scales. A lot of the new team members that we are kind of hiring, we want to make sure that they're not just they heard of AI, they tested, played a bit with ChatGPT, but they actually build systems. So even if their role is head of X, whatever that X might be, they have a lot of experience of building workflows and automations and not just creating the output, because creating the output is something that you can do pretty easily today. Judging the output is important, but also how to actually build additional tools and additional capabilities is a key in our hiring criteria.
Got it. What does that mean tactically for an AI engineer? So like, for example, we've been hiring folks who do N8N, make, but then also build out context engineering. Is that what you mean by an AI engineer, or is there an extra part of it that you guys are thinking about differently?
So it depends on which type of role. I have roles where I'm saying like this is good enough, like N8N and using like all of the different vibe coding tools, like that's good enough for me. And in other places, I'm saying like my head of my lead of growth labs is someone that actually has 15 to 20 years of experience of actually developing products, actually developing applications and products and websites and lots of different tools. Because there, I know that he will be using Claude Code. I know that he will use Cursor. And again, he won't going to need to draft a lot of the code himself, but he needs to know what is the right architecture, what type of things that we are not even thinking about. If you didn't write code, you won't going to necessarily think about the SSL security and how to actually create the user management in the best possible way, because you didn't do that before. So you can ask, hey, how do you build that, and prompting it and then getting something. But then once you start scaling it up, you won't gonna think about what you didn't even think of asking at that point of time. So I do want the people that actually have a lot of experience of building big systems with a lot of different scale. It's very easy when you're building with AI to basically create a massive inefficiencies. If every single image, just for example, like we build a scraper to understand what happens to our competitors, for our competitors in any given niche. We used to go into their ad library on Google and Facebook, and then you can see everything that they are posting today, everything that they have there on all of their existing ads. And based on that, understanding, okay, what have they done in the last month or so, and trying to analyze each and every image and videos and things like that nature to understand if that is data-driven as much as we are, we can learn from it. Instead of starting from scratch, let's start from where they are today, what our biggest competitors are doing, what works for them on social and things of that nature. It used to take us around 20 to 30 hours to go each and every one of the 5 competitors, going through that, viewing the videos, understanding what is the persona, if it's a male or female, 30, 40 plus, are they using their kids as well or not, what is the call to action, lots of different things to actually have this type of an opinion about who they're probably targeting, what they're trying to sell them, and things like that nature. Now, once you build this type of a multi-scraper that basically goes in and pulls the last 300 assets they've done, analyzing each and every one of them, it's very easy to do. You're tapping on a button. It takes maybe 25 minutes or 30 minutes. It downloads everything, analyzes everything, and give you a fantastic report. But if each and every one of those images need to be sent to Gemini, Nana Banana, for example, or never mind, like Gemini, for example, to use the analysis, the amount of tokens that you are burning on every single one of those scanning. If I'm sending now 300 per competitor, and you have, let's say, 4 or 5 competitors, so I'm scanning, I'm asking it to actually go through 1,500 assets that it will give me an analysis on. Now, I can definitely do that, but then the cost of those tokens, if you're doing it now every day or every week, And now doing that for 150 clients, it's a massive, massive amount of tokens. You can find yourself spending tens of thousands of dollars just for that analysis. Now, if you need that, fantastic. But if you didn't do that before and you're doing it, let's say once a quarter before, now I can do that every week. It will make sense. But do I need to actually scan every single one of those videos and every second of that video to understand those insights? I can do that, but again, it can cost me a fortune to do that in an inefficient way like that. So when you think about scale, something that looks fantastic on a demo, once you start saying, okay, now I'm starting to do that, but I have 150 clients, every single one of them will actually scan 1,500 assets every day for those. It's a massive, massive bill at the end of the month. And that's only for one tool, for one thing, only on the competitive analysis.
Right.
It doesn't scale. It doesn't make sense. So you need to think, what are the models that can actually be trained? How do you actually can take it? Maybe the Chinese model is good enough to give you some of those insights on the statics. So videos take there, and statics, you can actually save 70% of that budget, because you found like a much easier on the budget side to do that. So all of those efficiencies and kind of learning where it makes sense, where it doesn't make sense, and how big of the scale of what happens when you have that now for 500 clients or 1,000 clients, and saying, I don't want to pay those insane bills if it doesn't bring me the same type of a value. So maybe once a week is good enough. Maybe take all of those assets, put that on your own CRM, and only scan new assets every single time that you are actually creating this report. So if on the previous scan, you can actually save all of those things on your own database, and you scan that asset anymore, don't send it again for another scanning, because it's redundant. So a lot of those things that when you're thinking about from a product perspective, when you're thinking about with a senior executive that knows scale, that have gone through those processes, they're already thinking about how to solve problems that someone that can just play with those tools and can vibe code, they would never even think about that level of scale and how to actually solve things that before they become a massive bottleneck.
Geez. And so how do you test for AI with your product folks? We've tried like we call it a day in the life test, where we ask them like, hey, a content question that you have to be a subject matter expert on. So they have to like problem solve things that they would typically do during the day. But we have them do it live using AI, so we can see the output we can see how they use it and see their output. Do you guys have a test like that, or what do you guys do?
So for each and every new tool that we are launching, basically we're submitting it back to the team and trying to see how that kind of output looks like. So we're asking, let's say the account director is the main person that we're working with that specific account, with that specific client. So we're saying, hey, what do you think about this type of an output, for example? Where does it miss the mark? Is that kind of what you would expect to get? Now, if they have like very small nuances of different things, okay, you're refining the deck or things of that nature, that's very easy to do. And again, that can also be automated later on. If we're saying that, hey, you know what, the depth here is not where it needs to be. This is not what the client is asking about. This is not the biggest pain point. We're focusing here way too heavy on this specific stuff, where this is where we see much more value or things of that nature. Then you start understanding that maybe we have a priority problem or a KPI definition problem. Like, what is the thing that we are trying to solve? What is okay, we're creating a deck. This is a weekly report, a monthly report, whatever that might be. What are the most important things to focus on? And a lot of times you need to kind of give, it's not just a prompt, it's like this type of a decision tree of how our team would actually use something like that. So every single time that you're submitting a new app to the App Store, some of the new keywords will actually rank higher. Some of the other keywords will take a hit because of that. Like you change the title, subtitle, short description, you change a lot of different elements, and then you're taking it live to the App Store, and then or it starts getting more organic, the downloads, or it starts getting less. So what are the wins? What are the losses? And then how do we actually create the new version in a much better way using a lot of data-driven process? So in order to create this type of a content cycle and kind of understanding that based on data, what needs to be focused on, you need that feedback loop to be as efficient as you can. And when you're creating this type of feedback loop, you want to basically make sure that when we are creating the solution, from one month to another, the results will get better. And if the results are not getting better, besides the output from the account director that can say, okay, this report looks fantastic, the graphs are great, and all of the trends are right, are we getting on the right track month over month when you're testing the results? Is the new output that we got created by AI and not by our team, it was modified by our team, but is that actually getting better results? Now, if it's not getting better results, the report might look beautiful, but the essence isn't there. So testing a cadence of it is both based on how it's being perceived and also based on the data of the results that it managed to generate.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. That's awesome. And so, in terms of your focus, because it sounds like you guys have cracked what your AI systems look like, how the teams come together in a way that most agencies have not figured out yet. That is really impressive. And so, what does the next stage look like for you guys? What's your focus over the next, call it 12 months? Is it scaling these teams, or what are you thinking of doing?
So I think that we are trying to see how we can be one-stop shop for our clients. And to be a one-stop shop, we started from a very small niche. We started as a mobile marketing only agency. Like we're only focusing on mobile apps. And then we expanded to digital and to much, much, much more on that side of the gamut. So we have done 5 acquisitions in the past few years, and we are planning to do 2 to 3 more acquisitions every year moving forward to continue on enlarging our sets of capabilities. Today, for example, we don't deal too much with Amazon. Amazon, for example, like we do media buying on so many platforms. Amazon, we have some clients there, but we don't feel like we are world experts on managing Amazon presences. So we are about to buy, let's say, another 30 folks in European country, and we're kind of already agreeing on all of those terms, and basically have another like Amazon specialist in the company where you have like another 30 folks that are only doing that in the last 10 years. And they will bring us both their clientele and the new knowledge and things of that nature. And they're not using AI too much, so we can definitely automate a lot of the processes that are doing manually there and kind of build it in, so 1 + 1 equals so much more than 2. So I feel like we want to basically be one-stop shop with the way that we are approaching the market, where we are actually being able to provide best-in-class support for every single one of the growth needs of our clients. And with that, we are trying to continue on buying additional teams, add more capabilities, adding new products, which is something that, a year ago, I had 0 products. Moburst did not have a product. It wasn't a product company. It was an agency. Nowadays, we have so much automation, so many different capabilities in-house. We're saying it's ridiculous not to launch products and actually having our own SaaS tools and having our own platforms where we are providing our clients like the unfair advantage. When you're thinking about, if you had this type of a tool, we would use it, but there is no such tool. So let's build it and then basically using it for our clients and also selling it for, just like SaaS solutions. So I feel like we are kind of coming from the agency model to a much more tech enabled type of a company where we are just helping our clients to do so much more. And we are judged by the end of the day by the results. We can say all of the right things. We can show crazy case studies over the years. But the big question is, what is the cost and what is the result that I can get out of it? If the results are much better than the cost, obviously we're getting fantastic. If it's not there, again, we need to kind of shift or kind of rethink about what are we doing with this specific case. So I feel like what we are trying to build is like adding more capabilities using M&As, adding more capabilities using our own product division that continue on creating new products and services where we didn't serve the clients on those areas thus far, and basically building new sets of capabilities for the company to continue on growing and dominating much more markets and helping our clients to basically become the category leaders in their niche on each and every one of those areas. So every single time that we are buying a new company, for example, they have another 40 or 60 or 80 retainers of their legacy clients, so to speak, upsell, cross-sell to other things that we are doing in the company, and then basically be able to provide more value on how they're creating those assets with the AI team. So there are lots of synergies once we are kind of coming into those M&As. We've done it 5 times very, very successfully, and we plan to continue on doing it in order to become one-stop shop for our clients on whatever type of growth journey that they're at.
Yeah, interesting. And so what kind of capabilities are you guys looking to buy over the next few months?
So I think that talent management is something that we are in very active discussions on. Like we have influencer marketing capabilities, but we're not doing the talent management for the influencers, for example. We don't have a great Amazon capabilities, as I mentioned. So I feel like that's something that's going to be added piece. It's not just buying media on Amazon. That I feel like we know how to do, but also managing the listings and managing the inventory and lots of things about that we simply don't have the expertise in-house today. When you're thinking about B2C to B2B, so on the B2C side, I feel like we are really, really world experts at. But on the B2B side, there are lots of different things about ABM campaigns and doing automations on touching points on different things. There are specific pieces that I feel like we have done that before, but I don't feel like I don't have 50 case studies to talk about it. I have 1 or 2. Like the scale of it wasn't as significant in the way that we were building. We are thinking about selling AI as a service, for example. For that, I have a lot of AI experts, but they're all working in-house. Now, I need them to start working for clients' work and things of that nature. So lots of different opportunities that are arising to actually come and knocking on our door on the day-to-day basis based on what our clients are asking us to do. And a lot of times they're saying, guys, we don't want to take something that we are not world expert at. We don't feel like it's going to be generating anything positive for the relationship. So everywhere that we feel like, you know what, we can do that, but we are not the best in class at, I would rather buy rather than build from scratch. Sometimes we do buy build from scratch. Sometimes we do have like an executive that just finished a big role on this specific team that actually has done that before, and we know that they can form their own team. We've done that a lot of times on the BI team, on the influencer marketing team. Like we built a lot of capabilities in house as well, but there are more things that we want to do and continue on growing. And you have a lot of different marketplaces. We're not world experts on eBay or on Walmart, for example. Like you do have products that you can actually use to enter there. When you think about business development, for example, for our clients, actually getting them into the biggest stores out there. It's like distribution channels that are unrelated with just digital. TV, media buying, for example, we know how to do that on smart televisions, but not necessarily on local ads and local ads for only Atlanta or only in Florida. There are lots of different things on marketing that we don't have the total expertise just yet on. So right now we are offering to our clients what we know how to do fantastically, but theoretically you have more things. We never bought billboards for our clients or radio ads for our clients. Like it's not something that we've done. So if we want to go and kind of go from digital to also like a full 360 type of a solution for our clients, we don't have all of the offline figured out just yet. So there are lots of things that we can kind of continue on growing and evolving in order to actually be able to provide the best possible value for our clients.
I'm super excited to see where you guys go with this.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, this has been great, Gilad. Where can people find you?
So the easiest way is like basically going to moburst.com, moburst.com. That's our website. You have there a massive blog with lots of different things, case studies, a lot of different things. We are sharing probably too much information about what works, what doesn't work today. So if you want not even just working with us, just learning about what are the best practices today on different platforms and growth methodologies and things of that nature, it's all there. And obviously you can contact on the contact page there to get to. Besides that, again, on my LinkedIn, Gilad Bechar on LinkedIn, also very easy to find, and basically just reach out and would love to help with whatever we can.
Amazing. I'll put the links in the description.
Fantastic.
Thanks for coming on, Gilad. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me.